Welcome to Still Growing in Grace. I'm Mike Zanker. Join me and other amazing guests as we explore and discover better, hope-filled perspectives on biblical texts and difficult themes. Prepare to expand your understanding of God's love and amazing grace. Growing in Grace Ministries Canada and Hope Fellowship, as well as Eastside Church, invite you to enjoy today's program as we dig deeper into what it means to be still growing in grace. Welcome back to Still Growing in Grace. Last time we were talking about this idea of living from the unforced rhythms of grace and the idea of rest. And Fred had posted a posting just not long ago on that. And it got our attention because part of the Bible verse he used in that was from Matthew 11. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to make take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." That is a fantastic reminder to all of us who get busy in this, we call the work of grace, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we even know what it means to work from rest? Like, that was pretty blunt what was just written there.
Yeah, I think we kind of ended with kind of moving toward this idea of legalism and discipline and freedom and kind of how to define those three kind of things that are, no, they aren't always aligned, but they can kind of get tied together sometimes. And, where's the balance in all that? And I think one of the things that was radical for me a while back, just in study and thought, in reality is we live societally from this idea of work hard, play hard, right? I mean, and even if you think about legalism, it's kind of the thought is kick butt, do what you do, do the God list, check all the boxes, get this done, and then you'll get to heaven and get to play, right? Heaven's the reward for all your hard work. And yet that's not the gospel at all. And it's like, and here's the crazy part. That's not like the New Covenant gospel. I mean, it is the New Covenant, but it's not isolated to the New Covenant gospel. You look at the garden story, and the inception of humanity and our purpose and in creation, allegorically, humans are created on the sixth day. At the end of the sixth day, right? We're the apex of the creation. God's made all the earth and the stars, and he's made the oceans and the lands and the planets, and then comes in the sixth day and starts making animals, and then he says, let them make him in our image, male and female, in our image, and he created the male and female, right? And then it says, and he rested. Humans entered the picture in a position of rest. And then there were days that would follow after that. But our first thing was to start with rest, and rest would lead us into places of work coming from this organic place of trying to have spirit fruits and have those manifest in love and grace for one another. And that is the image by which we were intended to be. And you go on to the garden story later, and then we fall to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And it's like the 180. It says even the curse is, you will sweat from your brow, you will break your back, the soil, and you will basically have to earn survival from the ground, right? And that was the curse put upon us, not by God, but by ourselves. We put that curse on us. God didn't put that curse on us. He was just calling out the curse that we have bound ourselves to by living from this place of a knowledge of good and evil. It was never God's desire for us to be there. His desire was for us to start and rest. And that's why the Sabbath is the first day of the week, is you're supposed to start your week with rest. So, even in the Jewish day, if you think about it, the Jewish day started at sundown when we went to rest. And it changes our perspective. We start our day metaphorically, or at least in the sense of our mind, in the morning. So we start work, and rest is our reward at the end of the night. It's a totally different thing to think about. We start our day with rest, and we're going to wake up fulfilled from rest being able to work.
You were talking about disciplines. I think when I started entering into this, what we've called deconstruction, or reconstruction. But when I started into this journey, I started slowly letting go of spiritual disciplines. Now I'm still a disciplined person, and I get up very early in the morning, and I do all the things I'm supposed to do. But all of my spiritual disciplines, my regimented prayer life, and my worship life, and all of the things that I did slowly started letting go of them. And really, I can say at this point, I don't think I have a single spiritual discipline other than meeting with you guys.
I would say
I don't have
religious
anything like
discipline.
that.
Can I say religious discipline versus
Yes,
spiritual?
yes,
Yeah,
that's a good word. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'm not saying either that I won't at some point go pick up some disciplines, because you're right, it's not wrong necessarily. It's just something I think I had to do. And I still pray, and I still have a worship time and all of those things. I still have fellowship, but it's not regimented anymore.
Not
When
the
I think,
duty anymore.
right, yeah, when I think of something, I pray about it. And when I'm just, I feel like I need to worship God. I want to worship God. I worship Him. And that whole need to live out my Christianity as I have to follow this rule, these set of rules, it's gone.
Yeah.
I've just kind of kicked that out. And I know someday I might start bringing things back here and there. Okay. But right now I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying
But you're
it.
going to do that from a place of
Enjoyment.
enjoyment
Yeah.
Right. I
and
wrote,
spirit. That will come from spirit as opposed to coming from a religious obligation.
sure, sure. I wrote a book. It was originally 400 pages. It got cut down, but I didn't do that out of discipline. I
Mhm.
loved it. I loved it. I didn't sweat over that. I didn't worry over it. I just sat down and I did it night after night, after night after night for a couple of years, until I had the final product. But I didn't sweat it. I wasn't in a hurry. It took no discipline to do that.
Mm.
You know, I don't know what you guys think of him, but I've enjoyed his writings. His name is Dallas Willard, and he talks a lot about this. One of his books, if I hadn't have said it, I could have thought of it. I can't even think it. The biggest one, the big thick one, but it really was instrumental when I began this process. But he talks about the difference between effort and earning, and making a clear distinction between those two things. So I love how Peterson captured this when he used this unforced rhythm, and we're exploring it from so many different angles. But I think Jesus, if Jesus is saying, "Come and learn," in that, learn it. This is going to take you some time to learn how to live in this. But one of the things I think of is that Jesus lived out of a sense of the presence of the Father. He wasn't trying to get to him. He lived daily in the presence of the Father. And out of that, remarkably, I think another verse that is so incredible is that he did nothing on his own, but did only what he saw his Father doing.
Right.
So his Father was active, and he saw that, and there was a learning to just do as he saw the Father do. So we know that Jesus left and went away in solitude. He spent time alone in prayer, but it didn't seem to be this, like I forget, Mike, I think it was you last episode. I did the same thing. I mean, I actually would get up so early in the morning. Hated every second of
Quiet
it.
time.
Oh,
Right.
quiet time. Because, I went to the latest
Even
conference
God's
where,
quiet.
I went to the conference where this is what you do when you want your big church, this is what happens. So, but those were all trying to earn something that wasn't coming from within me. And Randy, what you just described, writing your book, just, I think is a description of unforced rhythms of grace. You just enjoyed partnering with the Father and putting things down. And there was a rest in it. You made it sound like this isn't work. And for me, I will tell you that there are times, I don't know how you feel, Mike. If it wasn't for getting to preach or teach, I'm not sure I would do this. That's like the cake, the dessert to it all. And there are just times when you get done, you're physically tired, maybe, but it's just like, this is what I was wired to do.
Mhm.
And I just felt like I was just partnering with him. So I think that's maybe for me early on, I was trying to earn something that was outside of me.
Mhm.
Now I am trying to work and participate with him from something that's inside of me.
Mm.
So God's not opposed of effort.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
true.
y'all know of Eric Liddell, the
Yeah, I've heard that name.
British. He was in the Olympics. He was an Olympian.
Yeah. Is he the Chariots of Fire guy?
Chariots of Fire. That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know the story of Eric Liddell. He was training to run a certain race, and he was figured to win. He was really great, but that race came on Sunday, and he refused to. That was work to him, and he said, "I'm not gonna run on Sunday." So they found another race for him that he did not train for, and he wound up winning that race on another day. But Eric Liddell at one point he made the statement, "When I run, I feel God's pleasure. When I run, I feel His pleasure," and I feel like that should be a part of everything we do in a spiritual sense. That I feel His pleasure. Like when I was writing, I felt His pleasure, and when you're preaching, Fred, you feel His pleasure, and I'm sure you do as well, Mike. You feel His pleasure, and I think that's when there's no discipline involved in that. When you feel His pleasure,
I gently push back. There's no effort, or no, there's no earnings involved with that. There can be a discipline. I think that's the key. There is there's no obligation.
right.
Right. The discipline side, I think there's a little bit of a paradox here that like you just said it a minute ago, you got up every day and wrote.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
a discipline. Whether you,
Yeah,
but it,
you would-
it was
you
an
would say-
effortless discipline, right? It was just such an organic, natural discipline that you felt no heaviness with. It was light, and in fact, it enlightened your life.
It did.
Yet it was something you did every day because you were in the groove. And if you're me, you know, I got a bass behind me, you know, being in the groove, like there's a discipline to the groove.
Yeah.
And yet there's this, we have that, there's new mercies every day. Sun sets, the sun rises, right? There's a discipline to our universe. And yet in the middle of this, there's the improv, there goes my camera. There's the dance that's going on in the middle. And so I think that's where it's both. There's discipline.
Discipline's not a bad word.
No, it shouldn't bring heaviness. It shouldn't bring obligation to feel that pleasure.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, that word is a trigger.
Yep.
It can be. And I think that's freeing people
Yeah.
from that, right?
Yeah, if they're coming out of that world that we have described.
Obligation, religious obligation as a
Yeah.
discipline, 100% be freed from that. Going to church every Sunday, praying the prayer every day at this time.
The Apostle Paul said, it's because of God's grace that I've worked harder than the rest of you.
Yeah.
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 So pushing back on that movie, I think it's an awful movie for the message. For the Christian legalist, they'll take it as their banner flag because look, see, he chose not to work on the Lord's day. Well, if he ran feeling God's pleasure, he should be able to run on the Sunday too. Like looking back, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like I have to work Sundays. You know, look at the church people. They go to church and then they make people work in restaurants and they treat them like crap. And it's like all in the name of Jesus. Anyway, that's my rabbit trail. I want to share something with you on abiding that I wrote a little while ago. It's a definition. This is just what I've come up with so far. This is my working definition. Abiding is living in the constant awareness that Christ is in you. It is trusting that He will be your source, your voice, your thoughts, your passions, and desires. It is an active awareness of resting in Christ. And then after that, I wrote, what this means in our day-to-day lives is this: you can rest in the truth that it's up to Christ in you to get your attention if something needs to be done or left alone. If he prompts us to participate in becoming an opportunity to co-love those he puts in our lives, it is trusting that Christ is responsible for the outcome of all he plants in our hearts and minds. There's no rush, and he doesn't need our help. It's not our discipline that gets the work done. It's not our discipline that breeds the success of whatever
That's not
God
the
wants to do.
fountain.
Pardon?
That's not the discipline is not the well. It's not
No.
the fountain.
Right.
But it may be how we take each bucket of water
Yep.
and take it to the places where it's not the source.
Right. So when we're unlearning these disciplines, when I came out of not doing devotions and all that stuff, it came from within me that I wanted to spend time with God, but it looked different, very different afterwards. Do I still meet with other fellow believers? Yeah, it doesn't have to be in church. So how it happens is very different. Sometimes we have to cut it right off in order to start fresh. And that's
Correct.
totally fine.
And sometimes you'll come back full circle, which is
You
really
might.
crazy for some people.
Yeah. So be careful not to judge everyone else's journey. You are on your own journey, and the Holy Spirit's big enough to get their attention. So there's room for disciplines. And in fact, sometimes we need disciplines, short-term disciplines, to teach us the habits that are healthy for us. You know?
Absolutely.
Like you and your working out thing, I'm so jealous, especially for you and for Richard. You know,
I'm not there yet, though.
No, but you're a lot closer. Like the whole idea of discipline, it sounds terrible, but I know I have my own disciplines. I need to learn to get back into more healthy routines, but it will require discipline. And I'm trying to get into it. It's hard. It's freaking hard.
But there's no obligation. God doesn't
but
love
there's
you
a
because
want
you
in
work
me.
out or don't. Oh, no, but absolutely. But I guess that's my point is obligation versus freedom. That's true. Discipline, if it's coming from a place of any sense that this is how you are loved or valued,
Bingo.
let it go. Let it go.
So that's where legalism is. Like we were talking about legalism and rules and disciplines and grace. What's the difference? Legalism are rules and activities that we follow in order to be accepted by God. That's basically
And by others.
And by others. That's what legalism is. I got in trouble when I started to learn more and more grace that I was being legalistic in my church because we had church rules for child safety policies and bylaws and all that stuff. And people didn't realize that's not legalism. Those are rules that are legal to keep us all safe. Don't make that about God, because we aren't. This is about living in a community. Very different. So to separate those took a while to get, right? Because when you're coming out of legalism, everything's legalistic. Oh, that's all. It's a funny judgment of immature children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, we got laws. I obey laws, maybe outside of speeding.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we're thankful that we have guidelines, rules on which side of the road you go down, and all. It keeps us safe.
It does.
Have you ever?
And you're all disciplined enough to keep those.
Well, yeah, and there's a good but it's if it's not the discipline that's going to keep you, it's going to kill you if you don't. You know, so sometimes you pay the price when you don't follow certain guidelines that lead to your
There's
health
no
and well-being.
consequences, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't free us from
definitely.
consequences.
There's freedom in those guidelines, in those structures.
There is.
One aspect of this that maybe has been untouched, and I think people who are listening who are thinking, when Jesus said those words, there was the opportunity. I mean, they saw him flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the opportunity to actually kind of follow him around at some level. Of course, not, you couldn't go with him everywhere unless you were one of the chosen disciples. And so how is it that we today come to him and learn from him and follow him and this is where, for me anyway, at least one aspect of it, I'm sure there's many, is learning, oh man, I'm still learning this, is to how to hear his voice, how to recognize his voice, how to recognize that prompting, how to once in a while, the hearing of slow down here, like don't rush through this conversation with this person. Don't move to that next. And so I like, again, once again, I go back to Peterson's paraphrase when he talked about learning. This is a lifelong, I'm guessing, maybe even in the age to come. This is a learning process of how to really follow and live this way. And so one of you said it, and I appreciate it. I think, Bill, you said it, having sometimes grace for yourself that I'm going to mess up this a lot.
Yeah.
And God's not, we've talked about it. I'm accepted. I'm loved. I'm in the family, and it's not kicking me out because I don't get it. So for those listening, this is a learning, and we're all learners, disciples. We're all learners.
Yeah.
Well, to follow in someone's footsteps and not run ahead of them. There's also, if you're leading people or trying to help someone grow, you got to recognize how far you've come, and you can't run off ahead. It's staying pace with them. You can't go faster than the slowest person in some ways when it comes to helping people grow and learn, right?
Yeah, I mean, we used to run a lot in military, right? And so there's a unit, the unit can run as fast as its slowest person. One of the phrases that I find very interesting, and it's something I bring to my team sometime, and again, probably do it more for myself than anything. It's slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's a Navy SEAL saying. And these are the most disciplined guys on earth, if we're just being honest, like Navy SEALs, right? I mean, these guys they work out every morning. They have the most precise actions. They go through every anticipation of every move that they're going to make on a mission. And their saying is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And I think that's, like, if you think about it in a totally kind of interesting way, it's kind of how Jesus lived, right? He was there was a deliberateness to him, and there was this rest and easiness. And think about, in 3 years, what this nomadic, basically, carpenter, who shouldn't have any influence on our world, if we're being honest, if we're being just who he was as a person, like a physical man, a Nazarene. And here we are 2,000 years later talking about this man's life and everything he did in this tiny little window of time, with 4 short stories about him that we have collected. How fast did he live with the amount of impact he made? You think about a small meteor moving super fast makes a giant impact. And yet he seemed to move this slow, effortless life.
Right.
I think he drove,
smooth as fast.
but he also drove his people nuts then, because their expectation was for a leader to conquer the Romans.
Absolutely.
When is this going to happen? Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Hey, wait, this is not what we expected.
Yeah.
They lived confused.
That's my definition of disciple. If you've never seen it, I have to pull it up, but it's a perpetually confused, but all in follower of Jesus.
Perpetually confused.
That's good.
But all in follower of Jesus. I'm behind this guy, come hell or high water, but I'm not really sure where I'm going or what I'm doing with him yet.
I like that. I'm going to put that up. That's probably going to be on my epitaph.
I can send you a link to where I've written about that.
Mine's going to be, I'll be back.
And I do believe that, though, we're not meant to say disciples forever. That there's a graduation, and we see that with Jesus' disciples, that, after the crucifixion and resurrection, and he came back and he told them all of these things, and he kind of clued them in on how his life fit with all the story that preceded him, with all the scriptures, and he was the fulfillment of this Jewish religion, but to be a light for the world, not just for this religion. They graduated into what we define now as apostles, right? They were messengers of this reconciliation, of this good news. And, there's season in our life for us to be this confused, but God is not the author of confusion, right? We're supposed to get past confusion and get to a place of cognitive rest. I hope that's one thing I'm pretty rested on, is I think I know who God is. He's exactly like Jesus. And if I have to most specifically focus on God, he's just exactly like Christ crucified. And I'm at rest there, even if my life is completely in shambles or busy or distracted. That's my grounding. That's my centering. That's where I'm rested on a knowledge level back at the tree of life, even though if my life seems to be, filled with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And I think that's what we're experiencing with our world right now, with a lot of people that are living in anxiety, is I think they're struggling to reground themselves with the fact that the one who is, was, and will forever be is nothing but good. And that can't be undone.
All right, we got 1 minute left, so let's go around and share the last thought of living from rest. What does it mean to you?
Wow, living at rest. That the outcomes belong to him. Again, I can do everything I can do, but the outcomes they're his, and I can rest there because, as Bill just said, he's good.
Yeah, I live under the canopy of the tree of life, and I didn't walk there. I was carried there, and I have been laid there. And as weird as it sounds, my lover and I, that's where we sit embraced.
Randy?
Making
me think on the spot, man.
Yeah. No, it's I agree with what everybody else said, and so I don't know that I have anything new to say about it.
Okay.
But
Well, you have a look of peace on your face, the calm peace. Yeah, it's wonderful. That's good. All right. Well, we got to wrap this up. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on Still Growing Grace. I hope this conversation was meaningful and helpful to you all. We'll catch you next time. Join me next time on Still Growing in Grace. Enjoy previous episodes by downloading our podcast at growingingrace.ca. If this show's been an encouragement to you, consider making a donation today. For our Canadian link, visit growingingrace.ca, and for our USA link, visit eschurch.com. Your donation will help us continue spreading really good news. Thank you again for tuning in to Still Growing in Grace.